Hi everybody, it's Thomas here from thomasfitzgeraldphotography.com with another Patreon exclusive video. This is our second video looking at editing some images from start to finish, and in this video I'm looking at some photos I took of Galway Harbour on the summer solstice at sunset. So basically we had headed to Galway and we wanted to capture the sunset on the longest day of the year. Unfortunately the sky was quite cloudy, but we did still get some dramatic imagery. So I have a selection of these and I'm going to show you how I edit them from start to finish. So let's jump right in and here we go. Okay, so to start with, let's look at this image. Okay, so this was taken on a Fuji X-Pro 2. I shot it on a tripod and it's kind of a long exposure. It's not very long actually, it's just over 1/7 of a second. So I've already run these through Irradiant X Transformer just to bring out a bit more detail, and because there was some kind of the usual Lightroom muddiness going on in some of the detail and the rocks and stuff. So I've done that, I've brought them all in, and I've set the color profile. Oh, actually no, I need to set the color profile to Provia. Okay. So what I want to do is, it's a pretty good image as it is. It's okay, but it's a bit flat. So we want to bring it up and bring out some of the colors in the sky and the detail in the rocks and stuff. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to straighten the image because it's a little bit crooked, as you can see. Okay, and then next thing we're going to do is just some kind of overall tweaking. So we play around with the shadows. I want to bring this up a little bit. Let's go down. A bit of clarity. These are the kind of things I do to most images of this kind. Overall, that's much better already. It's a little dark. I'm going to increase the exposure a bit. Now, these were taken at dusk, so the idea is that they are dark. So we don't want to brighten them up too much, but we still want to be able to see what's actually going on in it. Now, that's pretty good as is, but I want to bring it up some even more, and there's a little trick to this. If you have Lightroom CC as opposed to Lightroom 6, this is where the dehaze tool comes in. Now, dehaze is kind of mostly for getting rid of foggy or hazy images, but it actually works really well as an overall enhancement tool. As you can see here, I've just brought it up a bit and it's giving the image a lot of pop already. Somebody wrote to me one time and asking me, was it just did it just adjust the black levels? And it's not. It's much more complicated than that. It brings up certain colors and emphasizes certain things a bit more than others. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly the algorithm they use, but it's pretty good. Okay, so straight off, that's much better. I want to kind of give a bit more detail in the skies, so I'm going to add a gradient to this as well. And again, use clarity, a bit more dehaze. I don't want to go too much because it's starting to get a bit noisy, as you can see. But even at that, that's much better. Okay, and then one last thing I want to do is, there's a dust spot here, so we need to fix that. Okay. We're getting a little grain in here, but this is to be expected because I've increased the exposure a good bit and I've brought the shadows up so much, so there's going to be grain. There's not much you can do about that, and it kind of adds to the image anyway. It's not a big deal. So yeah, so straight up, that's much better. And we don't want to overdo it either, so the one thing I do want to just check is how this looks against white, because one of the things you can find sometimes is an image can look dark when you eventually post it to your website or online, or even when you print it out, and it looks perfectly fine when you're editing in Lightroom. And the reason for that is the darker background will make images look brighter than they actually are. Having said that, I still prefer a darker background when editing, but if you can see the difference, it's probably not that visible on the video, but it's a perceptual thing. So but I am going to bring this brightness up slightly, and what I'm going to do for that is I'm actually going to use the whites rather than exposure. And the reason for this is the white levels kind of acts like an overall volume control. So if you look at the histogram, you can see, if you imagine all the areas of the histogram from here to here, if I was to just grab it at this point and drag it across, so if you imagine you could actually physically drag the histogram, that's what adjusting the white levels would be. So if you watch the histogram as I adjust it, you see it's a linear adjustment. So it acts almost like a volume control. And I'm just going to make sure there's no clipping. Oh, everything looks fine. Okay, so there we have it. So that's that first image done. I'm pretty happy with that. And just to show you where we started, let's go back to the crop. So there, after we cropped it, there's our finished image.